Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm going to say it one more time. Good afternoon. Strategy session. It is here where we help each other with capital raising. If you have a question, you can bring forth your question. If you need help with capital raising, you can bring forth what help you may need. But today we have a guest speaker, and he's been in sales for Dan. How long you been in sales?
2007. Yeah, so I guess
Long time.
16. Yeah, long time now.
16 years.
Fell into it. Yeah.
And Jim and I met Dan in Houston at the MFIN conference. And we sat down, we talked, talked a long time. And come to find out, Dan is also from the state of New Jersey. He lived up north. Well, central, but somewhat north. But he's
Close
from
enough.
New Jersey.
Yep.
So I said to him, I said, how would you like to come and talk to us at the capital raise session to give some points? Because he's been into sales for 16 years, and to help us with reaching out to our contacts and stuff like that. So Dan, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you. And I do believe you have shared capabilities. If you need to share your screen or whatever, you have that. And also,
Okay.
after this, the GOB is looking for a salesperson. Um, if you're interested, I could send you the link so that you could read up on whatever the requirements are, and how you'll be compensated and stuff like that. But I just figured I just let you know.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I did have that was a point that I've been meaning to bring up to you anyway, to see what
Yeah.
that's all about. And kind of see where I can provide assistance with the GOB and all of us work together. So
All right. All
great.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So
So
I just want to
yeah.
say again, hello to, let me just say hello to everyone. Masood, Marcus, Betty Franklin. Betty Franklin is the one that be hooking me up on my logos and all of that. I must give her some props. She be hooking me up. And then who else? And all of the fandoms that's in the room taking notes. Hello, fandoms. So Dan, go ahead, take it away. You got the floor.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me on today, Daryl and everybody else. Daryl and I, as you mentioned, we met in Houston. So little background on me: I have done sales, as Daryl was saying, for since 2007. I was a volunteer police officer one time and an Eagle Scout, and the sales aspect came from initially from fitness equipment. I fell into retail fitness equipment, which was kind of like a high-end fitness showroom that kind of turned into commercial fitness eventually, which had me working with, surprisingly, not health clubs, but a lot of multifamily investors. So multifamily developers, multifamily value add, also syndicators, capital groups, all these people that needed fitness centers. So I was working with them, and then ultimately wanted to get into commercial real estate as well, and leverage that experience in the amenity design space. So that's kind of the background there. What Daryl and I were speaking about a little bit is kind of how sales and capital raising can be, and it's similar to acquisitions. Actually, sales can be applied to a lot of different aspects, and it can be very simple, but it can also be very daunting to people that are not used to it. So the, you know, the aspect that we're talking about today is on the capital raise side. So what I just kind of wanted to go over and to kind of keep a very simple aspect for people that aren't familiar with it, that are trying to develop a pipeline, a database for capital raising. is kind of where I wanted to lead. So, just a couple different points. So the first point, it was meeting people, networking. The one thing that I go to all the time, I go to these networking groups and you pass out business cards and then you never follow up and it doesn't go anywhere, right? So to every lead or contact that you make has to be, in a database somewhere. So you keep that in a database somewhere, you develop that pipeline list so that then you can build upon it. Some are going to be good leads and some not so good leads. So excuse me just a second. I'm playing daddy duty today as well, with a sick child. So can you sit on the couch, bud? Okay. So developing the pipeline list and the contacts is number one. The second thing is to follow up, to keep them almost like a trickle marketing sort of platform where you're touching base with all these contacts every month, every 2 months, in a regular sort of way, by email, phone, text. You're keeping them in mind. And then also, there's a couple different ways that you can go about it in regards to investors, LPs that you're looking for. During your conversation, when the time is right, you can bring up, what you're looking. I'm hi, my name is Dan, real estate syndicator. We are looking to give this COC, this cash on cash return with this IRR on this deal, and we're going to stay into it, projected between 7 and 10 years. Is that something that you'd be interested in? So to give that kind of elevator pitch when the time is right, when you have the opportunity to sit down with somebody, is important, because that'll gauge the level from a cold lead to a warm lead to a hot lead. And as long as you're not wasting those contacts, like I said, and you're staying following up with them, that's kind of how you can build and build and build on that database. The point that I was making in regards to the cash on cash return and the projections, you can even give them if you don't have a past property that that you have as an example, then you could always underwrite something and give them a mock property. This is what we were looking for. We're in the multifamily space, self-storage space. But then what I find is important, and quite frankly, I call it give a shit selling. That's what I'm a big advocate for, is just caring about what people are giving you. And sometimes they'll give you feedback. So asking them, this is what we're kind of targeting, but what are you open to? What are you looking for? Maybe, some investors, they might not be looking for going into the value add space. Maybe they're looking for a more conservative investment or a self-storage opportunity. So hearing what other people are saying will allow you to put those contacts in different buckets. So to reiterate and to keep simply, developing a contact pipeline database and organizing it based on feedback, as well as different buckets per se, of what the investor is looking for. That's two main keys, and then you kind of can build on that. Most important thing, as they say, fortune is in the follow-up, and that's where you just keep them a warm lead and don't let them go cold when you've worked so hard to do the mini sales pitch and get them interested. So that's the overall aspect where I see sales and capital raising coming in hand to hand. So, do you guys have any questions on that?
I want to ask you a question right quick. When
Sure.
when I first got into this industry, the one thing that was told to me was a sample deal package. What would you normally put into one of your sample deal packages? This is one of the old ones that I did. This was way back when, man. So,
Hmm.
you know, now I don't have to use sample deal packages. I got real ones, right?
Yeah.
So what would you normally put in yours?
I think let's see, different aspects of the sample deal package is equity multiplier target, the cash on cash return target, the IRR,
Okay.
of what, the, that would be. Market analysis is big in regards to the reasons why you're choosing that market based on factual data. As Daryl and I have discussed, I'm a very black and white individual, and I go by the numbers. I don't go by opinions, anything like that. So, I would say, it can be a summary version, of it, but essentially market analysis is very important. All the financial projections very important, and then the underwriting, similar to what you're showing right there, Daryl, is kind of highlighting the key attributes of what will make the deal. And as we also say, or what I've also been a proponent of in sales, is a unique selling proposition. So that unique selling proposition is something that, one, in a marketing aspect to an investor, will be a wow factor. Feel like, oh, I don't think that another investor would have thought about it that way, or realized how they can turn this lemon into lemonade, for instance. So to highlight those key aspects that other syndicators are not doing, very, very important. And you're going to get all different types of personality traits. So to summarize it, I think is very important to highlight the key aspects, because some people don't want to be bogged down with the details, because you're going to get, if anybody's familiar with it, all different personality types. Some are the lovey-dovey or the lovey-dovey earth types. Some are more detail oriented. So to speak to the masses, you want to keep in mind your audience in sales. If you want to summarize it to enough of an extent where you're not bogging down on the details, but you also want to give enough detail for those detail oriented people. So keep in mind, it's a good point that you brought up. Keep in mind your audience on who you're speaking to. And if you're speaking to a group of people, to make sure that you're hitting on all those points. So hopefully that answers your question.
Reggie has a question.
Yes, how you doing? Thank you, Dan. So my question is, I heard that you said that when you're raising capital, you want to do like a drip campaign. First, I got the question of like, what tools are you using, or what would be your advice first that you would give to a person that's just starting off, probably doesn't have a list to do a drip campaign? And secondly, what tools would you think that a person that just starting off may need to succeed in this? And what would you, you don't have to refer any, but something that you may think that'd be best for a beginner that's starting off capital raise?
So the tools that I would use just starting off, it's at the simplest form, it's getting those contacts and organizing them. It can be on a notepad, it can be on an Excel sheet. I'm an Excel guy, so I would probably do something like that. And then that would lead into more of a MailChimp campaign, newsletter, that sort of thing. So yeah. What was your second question?
Yeah, so what I said now, after you say, like I said from the beginning, like, how did you go about like getting those contacts, right? So say if I'm okay, because when you're talking about raising capital or doing anything like that, we're talking about, yeah, we may be raising it for asset, right? But what if we're raising it for like an organization or something like that? What I know I heard you talking about targeting your audience. Like, could you give me like a little more detail of like going to like what some of the steps that you use when you begin to build your list or narrow your list down to how you targeted your audience or what have you?
Sure. So, in regards to that, I would say handshakes is the biggest thing. Going to different events like the MFIN event that I met Daryl at, meeting people, connecting with people, going to like-minded real estate events. And then, we're also talking about capital raising, LPs. You're, at the initial, for the beginner, even for what I did, making a list of what you think are successful individuals in your life, family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, things like that, that are either smart, you think that are wealthy or on track to, that are financially savvy. I think that's how it should probably start: friends, family, networking events, and then you kind of build upon that. And then of course, going to different conferences, being a part of things like the GOP, where at a certain period of time, I was talking to a colleague investor yesterday, and at a certain period of time, there's only so much friends and family money that you can get. As you scale, it's bigger deals and bigger deals. So,
Yeah. Dan, when I first got started, I didn't have a CRM. And I remember the first time I was invited to do a capital raise. Oh, yeah, to do a capital raise. So they were, the team was like, okay, Darryl, how much money can you raise? Have you ever raised before? I'm like, no, I've never raised before. I said, but I have a big database and everything. I said, they said, okay, well, that's good. How much you think you could raise? I said, I'm gonna raise $1 million. $1 million, I said. I wound up raising 100,000. When it comes to, and one thing that that I did not have was a CRM. I would send out an email and then I would copy, paste. And I had well over 300 people that I had to copy, paste. After about a few minutes of that mess, I went and got me a CRM. So what would you say for a new person who's low on budget, don't have a lot of money to get these big, active campaign and MailChimp? How would you feel about something free, a free CRM?
yeah. So I guess to go a little further in detail of what you're talking about, Reggie or Reginald, at the earliest stage, I would say Excel. But on Daryl's point, once you do that list, or you need to have some kind of a CRM, because to keep it organized, they put it into different buckets, super, super important. So, the ones that I've seen, there's different project management tools too. So there's Asana, there's Monday. You can use those. HubSpot is one that I really like. HubSpot has a lot of different options to it. And they can also combine marketing as well as sales. So you can explore different attributes and kind of make it a little a la carte. Some are paid services and some are free. But for the person starting out that wants to keep it organized, HubSpot is a great one. MailChimp is a great one. Also, you want to make sure that it stays simple. So, yeah.
All right.
And when you say stay simple, you mean in like between like just a couple, like when you organizing it, you just have a couple of buckets? That's what you mean when you're saying stay simple?
Well, I think it's and this is my son. Say
Yeah.
hi, Daniel.
Hey, little man. Don't feel well
Yeah.
this afternoon now, huh? Got a little cold, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh boy, I heard that one.
Yeah. So daddy duty today, man.
There ain't no
Appreciate
problem with
everybody
that.
making do, right?
Hey, that's good.
So
He's learning. He's learning.
I want him to be in the real estate space. So here we go.
Yep.
The the question that you had, I think it comes down to paralysis of analysis,
Mhm.
right? People can have so many different CRMs, and like you could have a project management. Can you go sit on the couch for me, bud? Okay, go sit on the couch. I'll be right there. You could have a project management platform, then you could have a sales platform, then you could have a marketing platform, and all this other stuff. So, kind of like what Daryl was starting out, like you can email blast a bunch of people. It'll probably hit the spam box, and then you'll be kind of screwed anyway. But doing it through, 1, 2 platforms, that's kind of what I mean by that, is that avoid paralysis of analysis, because it's project management, marketing, sales. If you can have one platform that does a few different things that accomplish it, it might not be perfect, but you can always change it. And I always try to put it in my mind that life is dynamic, systems are dynamic. It's better to do something than getting bogged down with making it perfect. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I
Cool.
would say do 2, CRM and a marketing. HubSpot can do both, but you might have to pay a little bit. MailChimp, you could do HubSpot and MailChimp and keep it free. But I would say start with 2, is usually more than enough. Doesn't really need to be that much more overcomplicated. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, any other questions? No other questions?
I think he did a great job explaining it.
Exactly.
Marcus.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Listen, I'm not going to keep it, Dan, because I know you're home and your son is not feeling well. I want to say at least thank you for giving us the time that you had, these 30 minutes. So I really want to say thank you for that.
Of
Anything
course.
you'd like to say before you head out to give us some words of encouragement?
I would like to tell everybody that, and I'll include my info in the chat if you want to bounce
Fantastic.
any ideas off of me. I'm a systems guy. We were talking about sales, but ultimately, I'm a systems guy. I want to make it as not efficient but effective as possible. And the one thing I think for everybody to take away is when I learned the big difference between efficiency and effectiveness. So efficiency is doing something with ease. Effectiveness is actually incorporating the result of those things. Because efficiency, you might not need to do. It might be very efficient, but do you really need to do it? But effectiveness gets us to our goal.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So keep your
Fantastic.
goals in mind on your systems.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dan, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming. And
Of course.
we're going to have you back. I'm going to find that link to send to you from the GOB to see if you may be interested in coming on board and getting compensated for your work.
Okay,
But,
great. Looking
thank you
forward
very
to
much.
learning more.
Hey, for sure. And listen, make the date so we can go back to the turning point. And I could bring my wife, you bring your wife. That way we can sit down and have a nice a nice brunch. Because that
There-
Turning Point was pretty nice. I like that.
There we go. If you guys are in the Jersey area, I don't know if they branched out of Jersey, but even in New Orleans, if you're in New Orleans, Ruby Slipper is a spot. It beats Turning Point, I will say.
What?
So it does. It does. So breakfast spots are probably a love that my wife and I have of different spots that way. But yeah, looking forward to it. We'll do a Turning Point tour.
Sounds good to me, man. Sounds good. Hey, Marcus.
Cool.